The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Café. This is the United Podcast Network.
If you're building or buying or selling a home, the Real Estate Crew's got news for you at the Real Estate House Party.
With attorney Rick Carter,
Real Estate House Party.
paralegal Kathy Holtshouser,
Real Estate House Party. Come in, have fun.
and comedian Tony V. Now, here's real estate attorney Rick Carter.
Welcome and thanks for joining us here on the Real Estate House Party. How was that? Good intro?
That was great. And you know, Tony, you have changed.
Yes.
You have
Gotten older.
You're a better person
you've
after
gotten
your Fenway
younger.
Park.
And your gray went back to brown.
You wearing shorts?
Yes, yeah.
Whereas Tony doesn't wear pants at all on the show. So
They-
little secret.
Our audience doesn't know that, Rick.
well, they know it now. So, shout out to Tony V. He's not here today.
He's taking a well-deserved vacation after his whirlwind tour last week.
Of Fenway Park.
Fenway
with
Park
Billy
with Bill
Burr.
Burr.
And if you didn't see it, it's probably going to be a Netflix special from what I hear.
And Tony was also in Hampton on Thursday night, which I missed, with his son Gus, who's
That's right.
up
That's
and
right.
coming comedian, which is going to be really fun to see at Giggles at some point.
So he calls yesterday and says, I am not one-timing you, or big-timing
Big timing you. But you know what? I actually think he is big time. I mean, you know, Tony, I don't have any problem you ducking
know.
us now that you're famous. We
it was a
got you
great show.
famous, but
It was a great show. So he's going to be back next week, but we have Doug Walters this week. So we thought we could get some content done today.
so
make
we'll
up
give
for the
you
other shows.
yeah.
Big goals.
Big goals, big goals.
So this
big
is our
goals.
disclaimer. If you guys are looking for jokes today, this is not the place to be.
Wow, how to bring everyone down.
I know. No, we're going to
We could have
actually
a couple jokes, but
All right.
you're right. So we thought today we have Doug on because we see the seller's market changing just a little bit.
Yep.
So we'd like to. Here's what we'd like to talk about today: representing a seller.
Well, let's look at the change in the sellers.
We have a script.
Do you?
And we,
Just throw it out the window, Rick, right?
we
No,
did not get through the intro. See that point there?
I was going to say, we have a script every week.
I know.
For the record.
Were you impressed I sent this over to you today?
I was very
and
good.
I was
shocked.
impressed too.
You're impressed.
And
You're
look
impressed.
at my page
Luckily, I'd
is
already
not
sent this to
blank
Doug
today.
2 weeks ago, so he already
So
knew.
no,
about
Oh,
no,
Doug gets it 2 weeks
Yeah.
early. I get it like 5 minutes, but it's fine. It's priorities.
I get it a half hour, so don't feel bad.
So-
All right, fine.
Doug does a lot of the prep work before they get us. When they get to us, they've already probably done a lot of their marketing. You know, by the time they get to us, which I still think it's crazy, they come to us when the offer is signed.
Yep.
It has always amazed me where, unlike a lot of other law fields, real estate attorneys seem to get everything after all the stuff's been taken care of as
And
far
funny
as
enough,
contracts.
Why do you think that that's amazing?
Yeah,
I think the
that
word-
doesn't amaze you?
It does amaze me, but I want to tell the audience why you think it's amazing.
Because all the important terms are already signed. The offer is a binding contract.
Yeah, it's a binding
Yep.
contract.
So that's already been signed by the time they get to
So
us.
you
A
can't
listing-
change your mind, right?
You can't change your mind. Listing agreement's already been signed with all the terms of between you and the agent.
Yep.
Usually the buyer has come in and signed an application with the buyer. And then all these groups say, big transaction.
We might need
Maybe
an attorney.
we might have to get an attorney. So my point is, a lot of the stuff, when me and Kathy get it, the offer's already been signed, but you do a lot of the stuff beforehand. So
Yep.
I was hoping you could tell us a little bit what you do to get someone ready to get to the stage when they finally see us.
Yeah.
As far as marketing and all that.
Sure.
So if you had a brand new seller come to you,
Yep.
what would you suggest they do?
Well, I think the first thing, Rick, is just finding out what people need. You know, oftentimes we kind of get in these roles where we assume it's like, oh, here comes another seller. Like, I know exactly what I'm going to do. Boom, 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 boom.
Yep.
But you really got to find out, what someone's goals are. You know,
Yep.
we've been talking about how the market has shifted.
Yeah.
And let's face it has shifted pretty dramatically.
So I want to hear about the shift
Yeah.
first, because I'm sure our listeners are concerned about a shift.
Sure. So I have some stats. So In around March, the market started shifting. As soon as we saw rates kind of creeping up, and we saw,
and that's a good term, creeping up. I've never seen them go from
They
the
were-
twos to the
it was a quick
sixes.
creep.
It was
To be fair, it was a quick creep.
leaps and bounds.
Yeah, it was
Yes,
a
and
quick
I don't
creep.
think we've ever seen that.
It was a spike.
yeah.
Well, they went up, but then they came back
Yes,
down, right?
exactly.
And I think a big reason for that is a lot of people are worried about rates skyrocketing, but we have to remember that refinance apps are down dramatically, right?
Yes.
However, I've had 4 refinances come across my desk
Have you?
this week.
Oh.
Yep.
Well, maybe
So-
they're picking back up, but
Yep.
Not the way they were, but
they still have to make money,
Right.
right? So I don't think we're going to see rates dropping too much, but I don't think we're going to see them spike either. They're kind of
Yep.
nestling in the middle. We're also seeing more 10-1 ARMs being done. ARMs
Yeah.
just in general are up. So it seems like home buyers are trying
So
to find
10-1 arm is an adjustable for
right.
fixed for 10 years, and then it starts adjusting. Is that
Correct.
right?
Thank you for
No. I'm just,
no. So in a 10-1 arm would be good for somebody that's buying that plans to stay in the property for
Yes.
10 years.
10 years or less.
Right.
Yep, condos, for example. A lot
Right.
of, first-time homeowners.
And you probably have the
first-time buyers.
stats on it. Most people don't keep their mortgages more than 5 to 7 years.
Usually
right?
it's 7.
7
Seven's
years,
usually the
right.
number. But I
Right.
think one of the tough things is, after those 10 years, the rates can really jump. So you
Right,
kind of,
right.
when I talk
Well,
to
depending
clients,
on where the rates are, right?
Well, I just explain to clients either you're going to refinance in those 10 years, right? And
Yes.
if you don't like the
Right.
risk, you can.
Although the people who did the adjustables years ago hit home runs because they kept going down.
True.
Right. So they were actually getting
but it is a
maybe
roll
a
of
lower
dice.
rate.
Yeah,
Right.
I try to explain to clients it's all about mitigating risk, right? So
right.
it's like after 10 years, if it's not where you want it to be, do you feel comfortable selling your property?
Right.
And most
Right.
of the times, I see people who are buying condos, they're doing 10-1 arms
Right,
right now.
right,
They're
right,
not
right.
planning. They eventually want to get a single family. They're going to build some equity in the condo. They're going to live
Yep,
there, right?
yep.
It'll be a good fit, but it's not a long-term solution.
So
Right.
so it started changing a little bit in March with the rates going up.
Yep.
So because we saw last year or two,
The sellers had full control.
sellers
I know,
drove the
right?
bus, multiple offers.
More
sellers-
than multiple offers,
More
like
than-
25,
right,
35.
yeah.
Like that's not. I mean, that is multiple,
Sell-
but
It's on another level.
Yeah.
Sellers would be upset because their neighbor got 35 offers and they only got 25 offers, or
It's pretty crazy how quickly it shifted. I
Yeah.
mean, I think one of the key things, if you go to open houses, see how long the line is.
Right,
I
right.
remember for years, during COVID, standing in line, for 30 minutes just to
Right.
get in. It's like,
Right,
what is this
right,
amusement
right,
park? Like,
right.
what's going on here?
Right.
But that's, that's pretty much gone. you
So
know?
So what is the average attendance in the Boston area?
I'd have to look up specific
Yeah.
statistics, but I will say that just anecdotally within our office, showings are down pretty substantially.
Yep.
It's not that people aren't attending open houses. Single-family homes are still popular. They're still selling. But we're seeing a lot more price reductions.
Yeah.
A lot more price
Which
reductions.
you never saw in the last 3 years, right?
No,
And
yeah.
that's a little bit of the kiss of death, I think, when you start doing price
Well,
reductions.
I
I mean,
think-
you got to do it.
It's kind of setting expectations, right? So
Yeah.
if a
Right.
seller, oftentimes consumers
No, you're right.
are also like 3 months behind agents. So it's setting expectations of, look, the market has shifted.
Right.
Your home is wonderful, but it's not worth what it was before rates started going
Right,
up,
right,
right?
right.
We're starting to see demand start to shift, right? There's more homes on the market, more inventory, right? We're starting to see the price reductions. I was listening to someone who was saying, the COVID buyer is gone, which I thought was kind of
Yep,
fascinating,
yep.
right?
Yeah.
So we still have buyers in the market, but they're not as in as much of a rush.
Right.
Right.
They're taking their time. Like, I did an open house this weekend, and people were interested, but they're taking their time. They're
And the
doing their due
reason they're
diligence.
taking their time is because they have that time to
Well, they're
take.
getting the control back.
Yes. So
Exactly.
they didn't
Yep,
have
yep.
any time to think. They reacted.
True.
They gave a $50,000 over asking price, and they still may not have gotten an accepted offer.
Yeah,
But
yep.
right now they do have the
So in the last year or
good
two,
gift of time.
because they are a little bit more in control now. Contingencies are coming back.
Oh, for sure.
Thank God.
Yeah, I
for
know.
It's good
our
for
sake.
everybody.
Yeah.
It's good
Right,
for
right.
everybody,
I
in
think
my
that the
opinion.
contingency
Right.
was scary, and I
Yep.
feel like the people that were waiving all their financing contingency, their
And the
home
home
inspection.
inspection was really
Yeah.
scary.
And honestly, they
Yeah.
probably didn't even know the impact of what they were doing, because the end game was they just wanted to get that offer accepted.
Yeah. Well, I think this is, as we've been working together, Rick, I'm a huge fan of getting the attorney out in front early.
Yeah.
One of the things that when I was working with clients, in order to get that home inspection in, we would do a pre-offer inspection, right?
Yep,
You have to move
yep.
quick to get it done.
Yep,
Right.
But it's
yep.
like you want to find a remedy, right? You don't
Yeah.
want to just submit an offer without any inspection. The amount of risk there is,
Right,
is
right, right.
astronomical.
Right.
I think it's a kind of the same thing with getting an attorney involved.
Right. So good point. Sellers and buyers should both get kind of a team of people before they start putting in all these offers and signing these agreements.
Yep.
Right.
So, I mean, who would you suggest? Obviously, a real estate attorney,
Real estate
a broker,
attorney,
an
stager.
insurance agent.
Yep.
You'd want to know because we've had situations where at the last second someone couldn't get their insurance because they had a dog breed that so that threw them out. They should have probably known about that from day one.
I agree with that.
1031 exchange. We won't go into all this, but they might want to talk about that. An appraiser, a banker. They should really find out.
I agree. I think
great banker.
I think to your point, it's like the more preparation that happens, the better. The thing I like to do with my clients is tell them what's going to happen before it happens, and it's not rocket science.
No, you're right. Right.
But if
it's not.
It isn't rocket science, but it's amazing to me because I've had consumers come to me who were working with previous agents, and it's like everything happens as it happens. It's like, well, this rodeo has been going on for a long time. Like, we can explain to people 1 or 2 steps ahead what they should expect.
Without a doubt.
And then when it happens, they're like, oh, I'm prepared for this because this is exactly what...
proactive as a reactive.
Exactly.
So I think the three of us have always agreed that the steps are all the same. You still
I just think it's setting...
You just got to put it in different order.
Yes.
And,
And
we're going to go through a lot of those today where I think some of these items that are required for a sale should probably be done before listing stage.
And then
agree with that.
when you have all the things in place, it's just setting the expectation. So if you need a smoke certificate, right?
Yep.
You know that it could take 30 days in different towns,
Correct.
right?
Yep.
So it's being prepared, conveying that information, letting them know what to expect so they're not reactive.
All right, so Doug, you
let's
tell us,
go.
we're going to have all these steps, but tell us marketing plan for...
Sure.
What would you do if someone come in? And I know a lot of people have already got their house sold, so they're already seeing us with the offer. So a lot of this might not have any influence on someone who's watching right now. But what would you suggest for you've talked about websites.
Yeah.
So
I think courtesy of the pandemic, the essentials, right? You need photos, you need a 3D tour, and you need a floor plan. And I like to throw into that a property website. And that, I think, is like the new normal for property marketing. If you're just putting photos out there without a 3D tour or a floor plan, I really think you're hurting yourself. Okay. And then you can add on some additional pieces like drone, like video. You can do a more robust property website. You can do some social media advertising. Then you can start getting into print pieces, door knocking, just letting the neighbors know, hey, we're going to do a neighborhood open house. It's funny, the more technology we add, the more important the face-to-face interactions are because we're all online. We're not actually communicating. We think we are, but we're not.
Right.
So I think the key thing is having a robust strategy. The way I like to do it is do everything possible. Because then if we make the property look as good as possible, the only thing that we can work on is getting feedback from the buyers, right? If the buyers come in, we cast a wide net and they say, well, we don't like the light level, we don't like this, we wish we were closer to the golf course, blah, 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 right? Now we have things to talk about. If it's, well, we didn't cast a wide enough net, we didn't get enough people coming in, now it's my fault, right? I haven't done a good job marketing it. So I just like to check that box off, market it to the nth degree, and then we get to focus on the real objections and work on those.
I love the neighborhood party idea. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, neighborhood open
someone's
house?
selling.
Yeah.
Next year around this time, we're going to have our tiki bar. We're going to talk all about that, Doug. We'll have a tiki bar for the...
Okay.
All right. So we've gotten to a certain stage. Maybe me and Kathy can run through very quickly just kind of the basics, because I know people, we're going to use this as a informational video for a lot of our sellers. So there's about 8 or 9 steps. Why don't we go through them kind of quickly on what a seller needs to do just to get the thing closed. Real quickly, then we're going to go through them a little bit.
You should never, I'm going to just say this from working in a real estate law office. You should never go it alone. You say, oh, I'm going to sell my house without a real estate agent, save the commission, right?
Yep.
You're setting yourself up for a disaster.
Yep.
Or I'm going to use my agent. I'm going to use a real estate agent, but I'm not using an attorney. Again, another disaster.
No, it's a good point, because we've talked about this before, and we're being redundant. We're just trying to throw it all in today. But you don't really say, it's a good point. Sellers don't seem to save money when they don't do an agent, because you have some buyer come in and say, listen, you're not using an agent. I'm going to give you $25,000 less. That way the closing is going to be that much smoother.
Yep.
The
thing that kind of blows my mind is I think people look at the situation, they're trying to save money. I think you need to think about it like, what do you need to invest?
Right.
Because the whole goal is the net sheet.
So that's my point.
Right? It's just the net.
So if you're hiring an attorney, or you decide to not hire an attorney when you sell your house, you're probably saving $1,500 to $2,000, right?
Right. Yep.
But if there's a problem and you
Yep.
don't sell your house, you've lost a ton of time
Yep.
and a ton of money.
Yep.
House goes back on the market because
Yep.
you don't know what to do.
Yep. Agreed.
So,
100%.
so that's my first tip before we go through this.
Biggest legal move they'll probably make in their lifetimes.
Is buying and selling a
Buying
house.
and selling a house.
Yep.
You might as well just do it right. But hey,
Right.
who are we?
I mean, if you needed I always say this to Rick, if you needed a root canal, are you going with the cheapest oral surgeon? Are you going with the cheapest oral surgeon? And the answer, I'm guessing, is everyone's going to say no. I'm
Right.
going with
Too
the...
soon to be talking about teeth
I know.
problems right now.
But my point is, like, you don't shop around for doctors,
Yep.
their price. You
Yep.
don't shop around for all the important things in your life, but you're going to nickel and dime
Just
over
had
the
my wisdom
sale.
teeth. I have to throw this in. And the first thing I hear from the dentist is, I go, ooh, that's not a good sign.
No,
Yeah.
you better put me to sleep.
Well, it's kind of like picking health insurance. Sometimes people, when you don't have the problem, I think it's easy to be cheap because you don't have the
Right,
immediacy.
right,
But as soon as you
right.
do, you give an arm and a leg to get it resolved, especially health-related things.
Right.
And real estate can be so easy or it can be so stressful.
Without a
Right,
doubt.
right.
So
Without a
stressful.
doubt.
I mean, you guys have seen. We won't go into horror stories or
Every-
weird
Oh,
stories.
yes,
but
we will.
All right, if you
Day
want to,
in-
you can. But it's
Day in and day
But
out,
you know,
we are... Our role is to alleviate the stress
Right.
from your purchase or your sale.
So we're going
or
to talk
your
about
boat.
stress in a second. So here's quick, like 8 or 9 things you got to do. Just because people listen. Make sure you get your smoke certificate.
Yep.
Within
Yep,
60
or
days.
arrange with your real estate agent.
Yep.
They
Yep.
usually take care of it.
Yep.
Got to make sure you get your deed done. We
Yep.
know that.
And if you have an attorney, they're going
They'll
to
do
take
it for you.
care
Exactly.
of it.
Yep.
If you have a private septic system, you got to make sure. And we're going to talk about this a little bit more in a second, but we're just kind of giving you a quick, view of this right now.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a private septic system, you got to get a Title V in Massachusetts.
Well, you have
Yep.
to get a past Title V.
Yep. Yep.
you got to at least get the test done.
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
then the
Yeah.
thing is,
Yeah.
that's another thing that the real estate agent is going to guide you on.
Yep.
So by the end of this show, no one's going to want to go without a real estate agent or an attorney. So
For any municipal bills you have on the property, like a light bill, water bill, you got to get those paid up.
Yep.
again, the real estate agent helps navigate
Yep.
through that.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Fuel adjustment, oil is through the roof, as we know. So you got to get a final oil reading, and it just can't be someone eyeballing the.
Well, sometimes I get a picture of the oil
Right, right.
tank, the picture of the gauge.
Yeah.
I write back, that doesn't mean anything
Yeah.
to
No.
me.
yeah.
Right. So you got to get something from probably the oil company, right?
How much you paid for the fill up
Yep.
and then prorate it.
Yep,
Right.
Yep. Some companies are getting good about that too. We can take the photo, send it to them. Believe it or
Yeah,
not, they'll send over
exactly.
the
Ooh,
estimate.
all right, they're sending it to the attorney's office and think we're like
Right.
doing that.
You
but-
need something official.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. If you're selling a condominium, you need a 6D certificate,
Yep.
which just says there's no unpaid expenses on the property. If you're selling the property, you need a trustee. And we always say this as a little tip. And then we're going to get into some more.
Those are just basic things
Basic stuff.
that
Yep.
the attorney and or real estate agent
right.
will help you with.
Right.
Yep.
And we always remind people, Excise State Tax in Massachusetts is $4.56 per thousand.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sometimes sellers say, "Oh my God, I didn't know." And with prices nowadays, think about
It's a big chunk. Like
Yeah.
I thought I was getting $5,000 more
Right.
back.
Right.
Well, no, you forgot about the deed stamps
Right.
in the
Right.
state of
'Cause
Massachusetts.
if you're selling a $1 million house,
right.
how much would it be?
I don't know.
Yes, you do. $4,560.
Yeah. No, I think the other thing to point out is that's all preparatory pieces, right? It's
Yeah,
like
exactly.
there's so many closing cost calculators, right?
Right,
Before
right.
you even sign a listing agreement,
Right.
when you're looking through your net sheet to find out what you're going to make.
Right,
You know,
exactly,
assuming you
exactly.
sell it
No,
$1
you're
million
right,
bucks,
you're
you know?
right.
But just to bring in that point, it's like all this stuff is important. It should be talked about like we're
Right.
talking about it now, right up front.
We send out letters right off the bat if we're representing a seller, and we try to go over this because there's always little things. It comes up all the time.
Yep.
Like, when do I get my money as a seller?
Right. It's a
good one.
Everyone thinks all right, closing's done, give me my check.
No, so we have to
What do you do, Doug?
run it out at the registry of deeds. Well, we have to make sure we're funded from our lender
Yep.
and make sure the buyer brings in their certified funds.
Yep.
We have to run it out at the registry of deeds and close the gap between our 50-year title search. If it ended like June 15th and we're closing July 15th, we got to make sure that the seller didn't get another mortgage or there's a mechanic lien on the property.
Right.
And then we record. And luckily, they have something called Simple File, and we can record right from our desks into most registries in the state of Massachusetts, and some in New Hampshire, or a lot of them in New Hampshire. But that's the beauty of that.
Yeah.
And you get your money when we're on record.
So it's not at
It's
closing.
not immediate. So you either have to make arrangements with your real estate agent to go pick up the check, or you need to give us information where you'd like it wired to.
And wires aren't instantaneous as
No, they're
some
not.
people think.
On a Friday afternoon at the Cambridge Registry of Deeds, and we hit it, at our desk. We could have 300 people in line before us.
I believe it.
So, and if they reject it, you go back to the bottom, and they can reject it for any stupid little thing.
This is why I like early closings.
Got it early closings.
Right.
I know.
So we can't, if they reject it and it goes back to the bottom, there's a chance it's not going on record on a Friday afternoon.
Yep.
So and those are things to think about when when you can't get out of your work schedule.
Right.
I work. Well, we all work.
Yeah.
But if you're selling a house and you're looking for the $1 million, you might want to think about that a week or 2 or 3 before
All goes
closing.
into the preparation, right? You
Right,
say, look,
right.
when we get close to the closing, you're going to take that day off. A, to celebrate, and B, to get your money.
Right.
So here's
Or D, B, C, and E is to move out.
Yeah, that
We
too.
have sellers that are not our clients, but we've had
no.
sellers didn't understand that they had to move out of the property. I was like banging my head against my desk. I'm like, were we supposed to tell him that?
Yeah, make sure clients actually read the P&S.
Were we supposed to tell him that he had to move out?
I was at the registry of the deeds, and the poor borrower taps me on the shoulder. She goes, "When do you think the seller's going to get everything out?" I thought they were talking about like a plant and a couple pictures. I say, "Well, they should have it out before we record. How much is left?" She goes, "Oh, the whole house is still filled."
So it's in broom swept condition, is what you're telling me.
Well, it's clean.
We had one guy fighting us over the time. He wanted it at 10. We had it at 12.
Yeah.
And then that was the guy that didn't move out.
Right.
I think some people forget that if they don't do these things, it costs money.
Right.
Like,
But they think if
money
you
and
don't
time.
do it, they don't think anything of it. Like, they're like, well, what's the big deal?
Well, the problem is that the buyer might have hired Rick, and
Right.
and he's going to be on your case about, the
But
fact
the
that
other problem is the buyers have movers.
Right.
Their stuff is in a moving van.
Yeah.
Mostly.
So I usually do a questionnaire at the end when I ask them for basic information.
Yep.
I say, what has thrown you off most during the selling process? 99% of them say, I did not allot myself enough time for the move.
Interesting.
I don't think
Because
I've had one thing that's not.
You look at a room, right?
Yeah.
When you're moving, and you're like, oh, the move is going to take that, it's going to take that, going to take that. But you forget that all the drawers
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
are filled
Yep,
in
yep.
every piece of
I know, that's what I always think. The big stuff you can conceptualialize.
But
it's all
it's
the
the
papers.
little
and-
stuff.
I think the key is hiring professionals. Like, I've
Right.
had some people who, thought they could do it themselves, and it's like, no.
Right.
Like, there's so many things going on in that
Right,
process.
right, right.
Trying to save money there. It's like, just
Right.
But some people like when we moved, I didn't want to take all the crap with us.
Yeah.
So I did take the time, but what we forgot about was our basement.
Just leave it there.
No, but you know what I
The
mean.
storage facility?
But then that was like a big scramble.
yeah.
You're like, oh, I forgot about the basement.
Yep,
Like
yep.
it's easy to do.
Yep. No, it's very true.
Actually, related to this, too, we won't talk about it today, but you should really vet out your moving company, too.
Without a
yeah,
doubt.
no, without a doubt.
Not only because you can all figure out the cost, but what do you get for that cost?
Yeah.
Do they package it? Do they? But we'll talk
And
about that
then
another time.
and I'll bring up another thing. What if my closing gets delayed? Like, how much is that going to cost me?
Oh, yeah.
Can you leave it on the truck overnight?
Yep.
Do you have the
That's why the group of people that we have as our team should
Can
be
you
a
fit
moving
me in
company.
later in the afternoon?
We had a guy the other day, he couldn't close on Friday. It was like a 4-day delay, and they had to take everything off the truck. And, cost him like $3,000 or $4,000
Oh, yeah, it
extra.
adds up quick.
Right.
Yep.
All right, so for the last shift, we're doing pretty good here.
I know.
We're doing pretty
Chrissy
good.
is actually.
She's impressed. She's
so
typing over.
impressed.
We got Ed
We got
Sullivan
the-
is shocked.
Yeah,
up there
and
in the audience.
Murphy's
He just-
liking it.
Whenever we do the top 25, we usually get through 2.5. All right, so what I'm going to do is just throw out maybe, so we've done the basics, you get to the offer.
Yep.
We've talked about what should get done that you need for the closing.
Yep.
we have about 10, which would be a miracle if we get them all done. Just problem areas.
I won't interrupt.
All right. If you're watching now, these are the 10 problem areas that you really need an attorney for.
Right.
So number one, if you're, and I guess we'll just have to go quickly here, but if you're selling a house with a private septic system, I think you should get that private septic system checked out before you list the house.
Without a doubt.
1,000,000%.
Without a doubt.
Yeah,
Because
of course.
if it fails, you're looking at 30, 35, or 40 days.
And you've just, not only you lost the days, but you lose that money.
Right. Yep.
If you're selling $1 million house,
Yep.
oh, my septic system just failed. You can't get that from the buyer now. But if you'd done it before your listing,
Yep.
you
can
can then
check.
maybe sell
Yep.
it for $1,050,000.
Some
Right.
some lenders, work with agents and work with clients to remedy these situations, but at the end of the day, it's always a mess, pun intended. So
well,
it's,
and the biggest mess I'm seeing is they can get the septic system in. It's the landscaping.
Yes.
It's the so if it's in December.
Oh, that's a good point.
The-
So you have to have a good
the
agreement.
perk test too,
Yep.
Right.
depending on how much rain has come down. The
Does it
ground
include
and
the
soil.
loaming, the seeding?
And like so, if
Yeah,
I'm buying
yeah,
$1 million house and I didn't know your septic system failed and you had it replaced, and it's going to be in good working order by the
Yep.
time the closing is, my yard. My new yard that I'm buying is not going to look
Right.
the way it looked when I walked in there.
I think to your point, now that the market's shifting, buyers are not going to accept
Right.
this anymore.
Right,
When the market,
right.
when it was a
And
seller's
then they
market,
take
it was different.
lousy loam and lousy
Oh, yeah.
seed.
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
Any type of escrow agreement never works out to the terms
No,
in
we
the
still
escrow.
have one. We still have an escrow agreement back from six
6 or 7 years ago.
It's
Oh,
it's $750.
The buyer seller can't figure it out.
And they've been fighting for 7 years
Yeah,
about
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Really?
$750.
It never works.
I wonder what those
according to-
attorney's fees add up to.
Zero.
So that's one thing. All our 99% of the closings we've seen lately delayed is because of septic systems
Yeah.
not being done. All right, number two. We won't get crazy on this one, but if it's an estate selling, usually got to make sure of 4 things. Does all the heirs consent to the sale?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Is the estate over $1 million? Because then you'd have to get some inheritance tax affidavits. Is there a will to the person who's has passed away? And in that will, is there a license to sell the property?
The power to sell the property.
Right, because a lot of them don't. So that's
And you
it.
manage all that.
We manage all that.
That's what
yes.
yeah.
That's why it's nice to get these people in, before listing.
Right.
Let's
right.
have a game plan here.
Right. Exactly.
Right. And
know.
we could do our homework and we can do all the legwork before you even sell your house.
Yep.
Right.
On the premise that you're going to sell it and it's sitting there, we have
Right.
everything we need.
Well, that's
Right.
I love the idea of bringing you in. You check to make sure the seller is
Yeah,
clear
we
title.
have our little
that's
question.
the first thing you do.
I think I sent you that questionnaire. You were very smart to
Rick
put us
checks all his sellers like in his
Yeah.
spare time,
there. I do. I do.
And he finds like missing discharges.
Oh, we're gonna
Yeah,
get to that.
and that could be a 10-day problem.
Yeah. All right.
That could be a 45-day problem.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the thing about those is you don't know. The average seller has no idea. Oh, we paid that mortgage off. Okay, you paid it off, but
Is it recorded?
it's not on public record,
Right, right.
and then the bank or lender could be defunct,
Yep,
or
yep. Oh, yeah. Yep.
so it does cause problems.
So do the
and
title
it
search
will-
before the listing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Full,
And it will-
full disclosure, I find them, and then I give them to one Renee Carter.
Renee
and-
Carter is an
animal.
absolute pro at getting those discharges,
exactly.
and I think my lucky stars every day that she's around to do that because it was the worst job ever.
So you're right. So you do a title search early. You can find out if there's missing discharges. You can find out if we actually had one of our first closings ever where the seller, we got all the way to the end of the closing, and she didn't own the property.
Really?
Yeah. Is that a problem here in Massachusetts? So if you'd done a title search, we might have caught that one.
Right.
Next, you know about this one. I mean, you got to get everyone who's this. It sounds crazy, but everyone who has an interest in the property needs to sign that deed.
Right.
So give us an example. A spouse that doesn't
Yep.
own the property.
Yep, they have homestead rights.
Right.
I remember
If
you
they-
sharing that. I was in a situation where
Yeah.
you were saying, like,
Yeah.
the spouse needs to sign. I was
Yeah,
like, why is that?
exactly.
And-
And everyone always says, well, they don't own the house, and they get
Oh.
indignant
Yeah,
about
yeah,
it, right?
indignant, yeah.
But if that spouse lives at the property,
My husband doesn't own this property.
it doesn't matter. Does he reside there as his primary residence?
Then he has rights.
That is his homestead.
Right.
And he has
Right.
homestead rights.
Right,
And if
right.
he doesn't sign them off, then the buyer
can't
could have a
close.
potential problem going forward.
Makes sense.
When the husband stays in the property and the wife leaves.
Ones we don't see as much too. Someone might have a life estate in the property, so some parents will convey to their kids, "You can have the property, but we have a life estate in the property." They would have to sign on the deed too.
Right.
So divorce situations, I know we're flying through this, but we're doing this is a first for us. We're flying through this divorce situation. We have to go by the separation agreement. If it says the husband gets 60%, wife gets 4%, Again, if we had a kind of a plan in the beginning, we would have.
Well, and then there's usually divorce attorneys involved that you
Yep.
probably need to consult with.
Yep.
So you just have to watch every single. You got to figure out. Some people say, "I'm not around.
Right. Yeah, I love that.
I'm in Alabama. When are you coming back?" Well, I already moved
Well, you know
to
what
Alabama.
happens now? This generation's getting so used to signing everything electronically.
True.
On the phone, you don't even have to. You don't have to have the forms in front of you. What do you mean I still have to sign the deed? Well, yeah, you gotta.
In
Yeah, yeah.
Massachusetts, they do not accept the remote notarization, and
They have certain. You're right. Certain.
so
exceptions, right?
yeah, 99.9 of the times you need to see your attorney or sign an original deed
Yep.
before you go to Alabama.
Yeah.
All right. If you're selling a condominium and you know this one better than anyone, you should check out the condominium documents before you list the property.
yeah. Oh,
But
yeah.
again, no seller ever does this. They just sell the condominium. And we had a situation where, and you did a great job on it. So one Renee Carter found the square footage was wrong.
Yeah, the builder's plan. There's a substantial discrepancy there.
Big difference. Big difference, like 300 square feet.
And it was marketed with the different
Yeah.
square
So,
footage.
I mean, when you look at the price per square foot, we ended up getting $65K off that price.
You did a great job on
Well,
that.
you guys found it.
No,
and then I
but
negotiated
I was
it.
still shocked because that was at the height of the market. I said,
It doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but it's a huge deal. If you're marketing a house
yeah.
for 2,000 square feet and then you find out it's only 1,500 square feet,
Yep.
again, price per square
if
foot.
price per square foot's 700 or 1,000, which
Right.
it isn't everywhere, but that's a lot of money.
Yeah, a lot of money. So,
Yeah.
so I would suggest doing that before you even list a house. Call me crazy, but
But this is the stuff people don't understand that you guys do.
This falls under due diligence, right?
Right,
It's
right.
like, would you
Right.
rather do the due diligence while you're under duress?
right.
Right?
No,
Dealing with
right.
multiple
Right,
offers in the transaction, or would you rather do the due diligence ahead of time?
Right,
So
right.
that you don't feel stressed about
Right,
things.
right.
You know, it makes no sense to me that people operate any other way except taking it ahead of time. I think one of the challenges we run into in this industry is there isn't enough leadership explaining to
Right,
people,
right.
you can do this ahead of time. Sometimes agents get busy. That's kind of our fault.
Right,
We take on a
right.
new client, like, I don't have enough time to get them up to speed.
Right,
You know,
right.
but I still think we owe it to people to do all of these steps
And this
so
is
they're ready
this
to go.
is unfortunately in our situation. Everyone has done everything by the time they get to us. So here's one that's very controversial, and I don't think it's controversial at all. I would do the smoke detector certificate at listing stage.
Why not?
Why not?
Well,
We've had a bunch of
they're good
situations
for
where-
60 days.
Exactly.
Right, but everything closes within the 60 days, and if you don't, you just get a new one. I'd rather take that gamble than
I agree with
we've had
that.
4 or 5
Well, because
situations.
they've already gone in.
I agree with that.
They've given the certificate. If they found problems and you need to replace the smoke detectors and the carbon monoxide, the fire department will
Yes.
just say, "Oh, we were just out
It's so
there."
inexpensive,
right.
too. You
So
know,
we'll
I-
throw out 4 or 5 things we've run into problems, and we're running out of
And then
time.
we're done.
We're almost done there. But one is the fire department came in and said, this isn't a 5-bedroom, it's a 3-bedroom.
Right.
We won't get in all the details, but hard to market that as a 3-bedroom now. You've already sold it. That
So
was a
that had to
problem.
go back to the drawing board.
Oh, my gosh.
In-law apartments, some towns are brutal on that. Get this kitchen out of here, and the buyer
Modern.
says, well, I was expecting the kitchen. Right down to the minor things where we have, they come in, it has to be hardwired, which sounds easy, but, we had a situation, where Mike Flynn helped us out big time, where we went into the house. It was unfortunately a couple days before the closing. The house is just not set up to all of a sudden hardwire. Everything was kind of concrete blocked off. It would have thrown the closing off if Mike didn't take care of that. So
Nice.
why don't you just do that beforehand?
Makes total
And
sense.
there's one other thing that I wanted to bring up. Like, if you're selling a house
Yep.
before you're buying a house on the same day, you have to understand that you need your money from your sale
Yep.
to go to your purchase. So they don't quite understand why can't I close? Why can I close at 9 o'clock? Why am I the last one in the chain?
Do they do that with that face?
That
I know you've had a relative do that. I know
that client did.
Yeah.
But my point is, like, they don't understand the mechanism, right? So, and sometimes you can't close at 11 and buy at 12.
Right.
My suggestion would be you close at 9 and then you're buying at 2.
Right,
To
right.
give the wheels,
Yeah.
Or we get this 2 months beforehand. Well, I'm selling this, but I'm buying my new construction the same day. First of all, new construction never closes on time.
Set up the expectation.
So there's going to be a gap where your
You're
developer's
going to have to
say,
go find friends to live with.
You're going to be you're not buying for 2 weeks. What? I've already sold my house, right?
Yeah. We're seeing sellers use financial instruments too to close, like a home equity loan. Or
Well,
bridge
right.
loan.
So
not saying it's necessary, but
listen, that used to be the norm
Yeah.
before you were born, Doug. But do you remember that, Rick?
Yeah.
Like people would grab a bridge loan on their existing
they're
house
coming
to
back
buy.
around.
They're
Yeah,
coming
still
back
happening.
around.
Yeah.
So I'm watching it full circle. Maybe it's time for me to retire.
Oh my God. So here's I guess our overall point. A lot of sellers don't come to us until everything's completed.
Yep.
Or, a lot of the official documents are completed. Our thoughts are maybe have a little game plan beforehand.
Yep.
What can be done
Yep.
to make your life a lot easier.
Yep.
Where you're acting proactively as opposed
And
to
if you're
reactively.
introduced to us or if you hire us, then you have access to our whole staff. If you have a silly question or what you may think is a silly question, call anyone in our office and we'll be able to answer it. So you have us carte blanche to help you through this whole thing. And even if it's an emotional, right? One time I said, I'm here for you, buddy. And he's like, I am so nervous. I said, don't worry about it.
Yep.
We'll take good care of everything. Do you remember that guy?
Yeah, there's been a
And
lot of them.
he'd call me and be like, I'm just so nervous.
He's out in our audience right now.
Yeah.
Had a few more questions for you.
Anyway, so the point is you have some support behind you on one of the biggest things you're ever going to do.
Well, I think to your point, whenever I'm working with a buyer, I say the first person you should talk to is a lender, right?
Yep.
Even before the agent,
Exactly.
and the first person a seller should talk to is an attorney.
Yep.
I think the key is you want to get people
Get
in
them
as
early.
quickly as
Yep.
possible.
Yep.
I think as agents, maybe our egos are too big. We like to try to do everything and be the
Right.
hero, but in all
Kinda
seriousness,
control it.
we rely on all these other professionals
So
to
all
do
the
it,
steps are the same, but we're saying some should be done at different points during the customary process that's been going on for 50 years.
Getting an attorney in early doesn't hurt anybody.
Right,
Let's
right.
be honest.
Right.
Right.
Woo, woo.
Chrissy, are you impressed or
I have
what?
We had a
learned
lot of
so
information
much today.
a lot of information.
I am exhausted.
So much
So
today.
Tony V will be back next week where
Yeah.
we won't learn anything.
Good. I need to learn
We
less.
miss you, Tony.
We do miss him.
We will. We'll see him. And kudos again to Tony V.
Yeah,
for,
he was. He made me so proud. I wanted to cry.
He was awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to know him.
Yeah.
And call him a friend.
Although he's not going to call us
ever
his friends
again,
ever
but,
again.
I was just
He's
so
big
proud
timing
of
us
him,
now,
and
so.
he was amazing.
Amazing.
He was. He did great.
Thanks for joining us here on Real Estate House Party. Kathy Holtshouser, paralegal extraordinaire, and Doug Walters, man of many hats.
Yes, thanks for coming,
Thanks for
Doug.
joining
It's
us.
always
Thanks
a
for having
pleasure. Yeah.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Café, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.